First down and 10, Kansas State.
For some, this is the soundtrack of sports.
Oh, my gosh! And a fumble, and Texas Tech got it back.
For others, it sounds like this.
When people do hear the Monday night theme, the ESPN Open, the Olympics, they do conjure up certain sounds and sights and memories.
Let's get it started.
Athletes use music to psych themselves up. Music moves many people.
Welcome to the jungle. We got fun and games.
When you hear the music, you feel something.
Let's get ready to rumble!
Oftentimes, football games and so forth, you'll see these guys kind of wired up before the game, getting pumped up by whatever music it is that pumps them up.
Experts report no better way to create an emotional connection with the audience than through the use of music.
We will rock you.
Listen as we hear their evidence of how the branding of sports music becomes big business.
Oh, say, can you see?
From the very beginning of time, almost every sporting event was started with an anthem.
That's Nashville Sports and Entertainment Magazine's Jesse Manis. If you like sports, whether baseball, football, or basketball, one way to get the crowd and athletes pumped up, play some good music.
Another one bites the dust, and another one gone, and another one gone, another one bites the dust. Hey.
In an article titled Musical Branding and Advertising, author Jordan Stevens says without music, movies and TV would be duller than watching grass grow. The role of audio branding is similar to that of creating a visual identity. Belmont University professor of music business Don Cusick says you've got to have music in any part of entertainment. Music reinforces and is what creates the brand.
Music is part of it. You can't just have dry talk, pictures, action.
Cusick says the dilemma TV programmers face involves having to target the 18 to 49 demographic.
A significant part of the population is 50 plus, so if you bring in a pop song, a current pop song on a show, you kind of turn the older audience off, and if you refer to Happy Trails or some of those songs, that turns the young audience off. And so how do you find a song that fits a show and doesn't turn part of the audience off?
Professor of Music Business and Popular Music Studies in the Department of Recording Industry at Middle Tennessee State University, Dr. John Dugan says, no matter what the type of music, sports programmers know music and sports are not mutually exclusive.
Whether it's basketball and hip-hop, or whether it's football or rock and roll and football, there's a synergy there because those audiences are not seen as mutually exclusive, they're seen as linked. And if you're an artist, especially if you're an up-and-coming artist, it's a great way to get heard.
Belmont professor Don Cusick says some composers write themes for the media to bring a certain identity and avoid copyright issues.
A TV show wants to own the music, so they don't have to keep paying songwriters and publishers for years and years. And that's the dilemma. If you have a current pop song or even a current country song on a show, it reaches out to an audience that brings them in that they can relate to that show. At the same time, you've got to pay those rights. Whereas if you create your own song, work for hire, then you don't have to worry about that.
An industry term known as sonic branding represents a key part of making something recognizable. The chair of the Department of Electronic Media Communication at Middle Tennessee State University, Billy Pittard, says the way we perceive any kind of media hinges on the use of sound.
So if you have a sports broadcast, a particular program, a particular team, a particular network, if you have the sonic brand down, it's going to go a long way toward helping you be recognizable in the minds of the audience.
MTSU professor Billy Pittard has worked in branding with both CBS and ABC using 3- and 4-note themes.
When they hear that little fanfare, they instinctively know what they're up for. It kind of puts them in the mood. It helps get the audience into the state of mind that you want them to be in.
Tennessee State University professor Tommy Boris adds that if you go to NBA or college basketball games, because of the enclosed environment, music enhances the experience.
A lot of people don't like it because they think it's too much. Maybe it's too loud, but it's obvious that it works, and it does play into the fast pace of a game.
And we're coming to your city.
The Vice President of Operations for Nashville Sports and Entertainment magazine, Jesse Manis, cites the example of country stars Big and Rich participating with ESPN for 6 seasons.
Music and sports, and it's time for the game. It's college game day again, because there's that song. I mean, it's just a huge conglomeration of things that seem to work, and they keep that compatibility between sports and music.
MTSU professor Billy Pittard says when you hear those short themes, you know they represent something for which the audience will connect.
They're going to feel that they have a relationship with that brand, and the sound, the sonic branding that happens there. I think it's particularly strong because, in my opinion, it touches the emotions more than anything else you could do. When you hear the music, you feel something.
Tennessee State University professor Tommy Boris teaches sports journalism. He sees music in sports as a second soundtrack.
I always think back to that NBC game that it did in the early 80s where they took the announcers out of the game and just played the sound from the game, and people hated it because they didn't get any narration or any perspective. And I think in a lot of cases music does add to perspective.
In the Sport Journal article entitled Music in Sport and Exercise, the authors from Brunel University state, in the hotbed of competition, music has the potential to elicit a small but significant effect on performance. TSU professor Tommy Boris agrees, adding music may fire up the crowd as well as the athletes.
It's interesting what they call the walk-up when a player comes up and they let him pick his song. I guess it's a way to fire him up, and obviously if it's something the crowd connects to, that kind of gets them worked up too.
Most collegiate football halftime shows feature a band that plays brass and drum instrumental music designed to accentuate the experience. Associate Professor and Coordinator of Commercial Music at Tennessee State University, Dr. Mark Crawford, offers an historical view of the effect of marching band music used as a way to entertain the crowd.
Back in those days, again, we're talking decades ago, they would do the literature that was known then, which would be Sousa marches, Gilmore marches, more European-styled music. But now, again, with pop music being so prevalent, whenever you hear an ensemble, you want to hear something you know, and pop music is an obvious choice.
The director for Middle Tennessee State University's Center for Popular Music, Dr. Dale Cockrell, cites significant research on music's ability to brand something, including the marching band, which grew out of the military.
Bands serve the function to give community to the ensemble, but also to provide rhythm, tempo, provide orders, and also to get the troops kind of fired up. So to have a marching band out there looking like an army, they've got their uniforms on, they've got their hats on and so forth, marching along in perfect order, is an expression of this, you've got to join together to beat the other guys.
Y'all ready for this?
MTSU professor of music business and popular music, John Dugan, says in the digital age, where the physical sale of music continues to vanish, any artist looks for new ways to reach large audiences.
A lot of popular musicians are sports fans, and ESPN wants to retain a certain amount of currency with a youth audience.
MTSU's Dale Cockrell says musicians trying to express ideas through music that matters to them and to society has resulted in various songs about sports over the years.
Take Me Out to the Ball Game would be one of those songs that has the longest life, I think, and its expression there of sports. But again, it's not surprising. Sports are one of the things that provide us a sense of community, and music is also one of those things that provides that.
MTSU professor Billy Pittard says when we think of branding, we think of logos. But the intent of branding focuses on building relationships.
A brand is really all the things that you do to create a relationship between that entity and all the constituents that it's there for. So particularly that little piece of emotional connection that the sonic branding brings is a very powerful part and often neglected.
I'm Terry Likes. You're listening to Tennessee Matters from the Tennessee Radio Network.